Okay, now guys, I'm not stitching this down yet because I want to take my frame off and I want to show you how to finish the back. And then I'm going to show you how to hand stitch on the back. It's just a little easier to see. But the whole idea of this, so the final stretching is going to be with this pulled a little tighter to pull all these wrinkles out on both sides, and then I'm done. So I'm really happy with the way this is coming out, but let me tell you, it is work, and you have to stick with it if you're just doing one. If you're just starting out with one, you may have to do it over again, but make sure you have, if you're just starting out on the womb chair, make sure you have extra fabric. I should tell you that the chair, the ottoman, which this does have, and the cushions take 8 yards. So I would suggest if you're just starting out to get maybe 10 yards, just to make sure. But by far the hardest is the interior of the chair. Everything else is pretty easy compared to that. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take the frame off so I could turn this upside down to get at this better. Now it's time. So what we're going to do is, I've already had this off once, like I said. So I'm going to turn this over. Oh, it'll lighten my load a little bit too. So let's just take the screws out. There are 6 screws, 4 on the bottom and 2, 1 each on the arm. There's big long machine screws too. I just want you guys to see this, so let's put it up. Okay guys, so we're going to be putting our 2 centerpieces on. One centerpiece is going to be for the inside back. That's the first one you put on. So you want to make sure that your good side is showing out. Okay, so I have my inside back marked, and I have the top, which is here. So that's going to go on like so. Try to get it on straight. As straight as you can, even though it doesn't have a pattern. It's just better for you. So what I'm going to do is do the bottom first. Stapling about an inch in from the front, and then I'm going to stretch it really tight, drum tight, all the way around here. Tight. Let's trim that up. I'll take a quick peek to make sure it looks good. Looks fantastic. This way again. Now what we're going to do is put a piece of burlap in there because there's some pressure from the cushions that people sit down on from the other side. A piece of burlap should do. Okay, I'm not going to fold the burlap. I'm just going to put it on like so. Really good stretch in the front. Staples. Then I'm going to put my other piece on, my outside back on first. Okay, I got my inside, I got the mark back. And I'm just going to put this right over like so. I'm going to staple that on. So there are 3 layers in here. Okay, that's it for that section. Let's pause and go to the outside. Okay guys, let's try to get this outside back on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to let gravity help us with this one. The outside on this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this just to clean this up a little bit, trim it up a little bit better than it is. Ideally you want the Dacron to be over the fabric edges. Cleaning it up is even more important. You know, like there's a staple over here that's been left, so you want to pat it down to make sure that that is the case, if there are no staples. And then now's your time to check to make sure that if you missed an area like that, you get a few more staples. I'm really checking with my hand. Just be careful when you do that. You don't want to get a staple too far. There's another staple that's not in all the way, so we'll do that, and then we'll clean this up a little bit, stretch this a little bit more. You can even staple some of the ends down just to get it clean. Looking for it to be really clean. A little trimming up here. Just feeling this. Making sure that it's a good transition in there, we call it. Good transition lines. Trimming here. All the way around. Beautiful. Now we're going to take our back, our outside back, just like we did in the inside. We're just going to kind of, it's going to be a little easier though on this. We're just going to kind of drape it over and let gravity help us on this end. So I got my, you're looking at the bottom here. I got my outside back going this way. Gonna let it kind of fall over like so. So where you're going to cheat a little bit if you need to is underneath the arm. And they had a little piece of fabric to cover up under the arm where nobody sees. When I say cheat, that's where, you know, if there's any loose cover, that's where it needs to go, right? So instead of pin tacking, I think I'm going to pin it. I think pinning is a little bit easier on the fabric. So it's going to be hand stitched around this area, so I'm just going to start in that area, just pinning it. So now I'm going to go up to my outside back here. I'm not going to fold it or anything, I'm just going to pin it. Try to get it tight. Work out, I'm pinning it right to the edge. I want to turn this for you guys just to see what I'm doing here. I got another pin right in this area. This area here underneath the arm is kind of your cheat a little bit if you have to. It doesn't mean you have to have a pleat like this. You can't. It's not going to look good. But what it means is that you might have to make a cut inside here somewhere. I've not determined that yet. It depends on the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I like this area. This area here came out clean. See what I just did there, you guys? I just pulled that up a little bit. And I'm going to repin that up top there. 'Cause I kind of like the way this is swinging around. So make sure I have enough fabric here. Ooh, that looks good. It's always going to be a little easier draping something this way than the inside, you guys. Just still have to learn how to do it, right? So just get a couple of in here. Get another one in here. I'm going to remove this pin tag, pin tag, and I'm going to stretch this up. Just like that. Get that pinned. Bring it over to you guys a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. Remember how we had to make a cut on the other side? There's going to be a seam and it matches the seam. It's going to be down here. We're not going to cut it yet. I'm going to cut on the other side. This is the outside back, so we want to make that smooth. Tightening this up around here. The seam goes underneath the seat, so we're going to cut that over there when we get over there, but let's keep going around. Remove a couple of tacks. Happy to see that. Stretch that way. Now we're ready to make that cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little bit more. I'm going to check my seam in the seat and give myself a little bit more this way. Yeah, about 2 inches to the right of the seam. Go right up. Okay. And I'm pretty confident. I have a really good stretch on this, and it's really looking good. So what I'm going to do is I am going to fold this over. I'm going to start my pleat, believe it or not, on the where I'm going to be hand stitching it to the inside. Actually, I'm going to bring this over to you guys. Hold on a second. This is kind of important, so I'm going to bring it around. Stretch this way, so that I'm under the arm there, and I'm going to get a staple right there, all the way in. Then I'm going to come up here. I'm going to get a staple all the way in. What I want to show you is that I feel so confident. It's only a pin, but I want to show you. It's kind of fun when you have the confidence, right? Just it's kind of like a reward for all the work that we've been doing too, to yourself. I'm going to get a pleat that way, and then I'm going to get another staple in this way. If I have to undo it, fine. I just like the fact that I got to this point. Okay, and I'm going to come up here. And I'm going to start cutting this out. You might be wondering how I was going to do that. It's just a cut up there. And then that gets folded, and that's going to be stitched there. Okay. And then I'm going to get a couple of staples in there. Okay, now this side comes this way. lot of extra fabric, which is good, right? Look how nice that looks, you guys. And now I'm going to get this, whoops, make sure, you see that's my seam line on the front coming this way. Make sure that you cut it to the left of that. I'll throw that away, clean it up a little bit. And then this is going to be stitched down on the bottom. You don't really see this, but it's going to be hand stitched. And then I'm going to just put a little trim up here. Pull this under and give this a pull this way. Very good. Then I got another pin in here. Maybe a couple of pins. Great. And now I can be, after I've done this, I can start trimming up a little bit in order for this to fold under. And while I'm in this position, I think I might just start that now. And you know, you're just pinning it, so if I have to undo these pins to make an adjustment, I will. Probably will have to, you know, that's okay. I really feel as though I got somewhere here. Okay, now I think what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to do a little bit more trimming here. So trim that off. I'm going to trim this off. I'm going to pull this around to show you what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get a couple of staples under the arm area. Right in here, you guys. You know what, I think I might make it a pinning. So let's do that. A pin staple, I mean, a pin staple. Okay. Now I'm going to undo this. Just want to take a look at where my screw hole is. Then I'm going to cut that out. Now remember, when you do this, that you only have a pipe that's only about 1/2 of an inch or at the most 3/4 inch wide. So you don't want to go too far cutting this. Okay, but I'm really confident I've got this right where it needs to be. That's why I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to take this and I'm going to make a hole where the screw is. Now these are machine screws, so you don't want any thread. Kind of makes it even a little harder to do it because you don't want thread in the way of the screw because it won't go in. Just one little thread will ruin your day here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stapling around this hole. I'm using my regulator to pull away any thread and try to minimize the size of the hole that I put in here. Okay, that's good. I think I might get a couple of more staples in here, pins in here to hold this, don't flap. I'm going to put this up on the frame to show you at some point here. Let's do the other side. While we're here, I'm going to take this flap back here. Let's pull this so you guys can see before we get to the other side. And I'll just put a couple of my pins in there. I'm going to flap this back. I want to make sure that I have my holes here. It's always better to cut the hole first before you staple around it. Take a look right there. Sometimes they're hard to feel, so that's why it's good to have it where it is now. There it is. Well, that was hard to pick up. So what I'm going to do on the other side, I'm going to leave the other side, and then I'm going to cut it when I line up my screws up. When my frame is, I'm going to line it up and then cut it afterwards. Right now, getting this is important because this lines me up with the other side. That should be good. Okay, so let's just replace this. Just gonna get a pin staple for now. Okay. Let's work the other side. You know, let's actually show you another technique here. It's just so you. They are really hard to find. There's one. Another technique would be, you got to be careful when you do this because this is a machine screw. But try to get, you can use an awl too if you want, but you do actually have to do some cutting in there. So we just come over here, get this one. That's that. Find this one. It's ready to go. Continue to trim. And fold under. I'm going to use this as a tool too, you know. If you're careful with this, with pinning, with the staple gun, by all means do it. But you don't want to, I mean the pins are a little bit more sensitive way of doing it. I mean if you do this too hard and try to take it out, it could rip. So you want to avoid that obviously. I'm going to bring this out. Now it's brought up. I'm going to bring this around. Not to get it way too much here. This is the first pinning, you guys. Remember that. It's going to be pinned again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this. It's called pinning raw. I'm pinning it raw. I'm not spending too much time on the stretch right now. I'm just trying to get it. It's the first pinning. Show you what we're going to do here. We have to finish this part, okay? So of course you want to be careful when you do this, but I need to make a hem here for my stitching. So you know, you could be generous too. You don't have to be at the ½ inch that I tell people to do. Be a little bit more than that, especially the first time. I'll make a cut here to loosen this up to see what I'm doing. And then trim this up. Trim this up. Now let's see how easy that flips around. It might not be so easy, I'm not sure. Depends on the stretch. Oh yeah, we're pretty good. I'm going to be right along the edge of the opening, okay? Look how nice that went around there, you guys. Nice, finally something easy on this chair. That was the first easy thing right there. The other side, and then I'm going to put it in the frame. Let's see how it looks. I'm not going to screw it in yet. So it's a little tight here, so I'm going to need to make a little cut coming in here just to try to get it around that problem area where it was tight. Look at that, it almost doesn't need pinning. Maybe another one here, let's just see. Yeah, another little cut here at this, right at that transition point there, right at the curve point. And then we're going to fold that under. Beautiful. Put that staple there.